Hello, welcome in. It is a special episode today. A very special episode. Not one of those like 80s and 90s very special episodes. No. This is a special episode that's kind of a two-parter. Only the second part of this will come later on in December. The first part is, of course, the Game Awards nominee special. Hey! Yeah, we're going to talk about every nominee, every category, everything going on with the nominees for the Game Awards 2025. Very much looking forward to this on a week that has just been less than stellar, to say the least. Also, I just want to say thank you to anybody that listens. Thank you. And if you need it, reach out to anybody. Show them you're there. Just want to say that up front. The Game Awards are finally back. Although it's just another thing for people to argue about. Blah, blah, blah. My game didn't get Game of the Year. Why this one, not that one? Who cares? Because I see it like this. Ever since E3 went away, ever since E3 kind of went in the ethos of time after 2020 and the disaster of the year that was, I always wondered what was that one event that still was like E3 that kind of like brought gamers together, or if not together, they brought them to one particular spot to watch and, in theory, be together. I always wondered that, and when it comes to time-wise, I guess Summer Games Fest is that. But I don't see Summer Games Fest as E3 equivalent. They're games like together and whatnot, and there are new games announced, and all together they're putting on a show, but they're not really together. They're not under the same roof. It's not the same way how E3 was when you had Sony, Microsoft in a convention and Nintendo in the convention going around seeing the new games and stuff. It's not the same. It's just like Nintendo Directs might get announced at this time, or a State of Play. They're going to do their own separate thing. But there's not really anything that just like brings the community together. The Game Awards feel like as close to a version of E3 as there probably ever will be again. It's completely different. It's not a convention. It's an awards show. But you have a bunch of developers, a bunch of people getting together in one roof and celebrating games, celebrating the year that was gaming. It's the closest thing we have anymore to E3. And then there's also releases and stuff that happen. Like the Game Awards. The Game Awards is the big deal anymore. It's the main show. More show than I think Summer Games Fest. Now you have other conventions, actual conventions and stuff. I'm sure. I think there's one close to the fall, beginning of the fall. I can't remember all of them right now. I just know Summer Games Fest, in terms of when games get released and stuff and everything, is kind of the E3 equivalent for time-wise. But I think in overall hype and just readiness for the year, I really think the Game Awards have it anymore. And I'm okay with that because I don't really care for award shows. So to have an award show that I actually like because it's stuff that I like, it's a medium that I particularly like the most, I'm totally down, and I'm excited. The Game Awards will be December 11th, 2025. That week, that Sunday, we will do a video game award show talking about the winners. If I agree, disagree, or whatnot. I am not going live. I am not a live streamer. I will not do anything live for this. I am a podcaster. At best, I'm a podcaster. Not a very good one, a podcaster boot. I'm not a streamer. Don't want to be. I've tried before. Don't care for it. It'll be taking place at the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles, California. I've never heard of the Peacock Theater. I don't know where that is. I'm sure it's a famous theater there. There are so many theaters in LA. It's crazy. So that's going to be a good time. I cannot wait for the Game Awards. Going to be streaming everywhere online, YouTube, Twitch. I wonder one day if they'll actually get a TV deal to stream it somewhere on TV or a legit streaming service. I don't know why they ever would want to, because I feel like they can reach just as many people, if not more, doing it the way they do. But I wonder if one day some TV money will come their way and if they will be able to, resist. Because no one can resist money. And the game and video game industry absolutely can't resist money. No matter what. They can't help it. They're just greedy. Sorry. They're just greedy. Before I go any further with opinions and stuff on the Game Awards, I just want to say I understand completely. I am as casual of a gamer as I've ever been. So a lot of these games I have not seen 100%, and I've played a little bit. I'm a very busy person anymore. I'm trying to be very much more busy. But it doesn't mean I don't want to go back and play these games eventually and try them at least. I have tried some, so I do have an opinion on a couple of them. And I just want to say, if you don't think I'm right, just like with every other episode, you are more than okay to tell me. Let me know. Whatever you want to do. This is from as casual of a person's perspective as possible. Or casual in the sense of, I like games. I like how these look. I haven't played them myself. I'm busy. I'll play them one day, And also, before we get into the nominees themselves, I want to talk about some past notable moments of the Game Awards. Notable winners. Last year, obviously, the Game of the Year award winner was Astrobot. Lovely game. You talk about a game I've played and played endlessly. There is only one level I have not beat yet. It is the last of those newest time trial levels. I haven't had time, haven't really had the interest. It's a difficult level, don't get me wrong too. I just haven't had the interest to sit down and completely finish it. But Astrobot is such a lovely game. I love Astrobot so much. PlayStation 5's only game, by the way. Yeah, that joke doesn't get old. I've mentioned before how old I think that joke is. But hey, gotta call a spade whenever you're bringing all your other exclusives to PC. You're not making them exclusive anymore. You only have Astrobot right now. You have Astro's Playroom, which is free with every PS5, and then you have Astrobot, the actual game. Because Astro's Playroom's a tech demo for the PS5. 2023, I believe it was, the year that Elden Ring got Game of the Year, which very much deserved. I'm not a huge fan of Dark Souls-esque games. I'm from Software. I get why they're popular. I get why people love their games. Here we go. Here's opinion that people are going to be mad at. I don't care, and I think they're kind of overrated. They're difficult for the sake of being difficult in a lot of sense. But Elden Ring does seem like that more casual, more fleshed out version that it's not difficult just for the sake of being difficult in comparison to the other From Software games. So Elden Ring winning Game of the Year made total sense. It seemed like this one was really the one that took the Dark Souls-esque fighting and all that stuff, put it in an open world, and brought it to a point where it just made sense and was as casual as you can possibly get. It's still that Dark Souls-esque, classic FromSoft hard game. There's nothing easy about Elden Ring. It's easy to pick up and start, but man, you're going to get your whooped for sure. But it's good. I mean, you have to give a game credit. It's good. Compared to the other Dark Souls games, compared to Demon Souls, compared to even Bloodborne. It's good. Now, their DLC, their standalone DLC, being nominated for Game of the Year, what was it, last year, the year before? Absolute. I don't care. I don't care what you say. I don't care how good Elden Ring is. If there's a game that's simply an expansion DLC that is standalone, it shouldn't be Game of the Year candidate. I would have been mad, like back in the day, if Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon was considered a Game of the Year candidate. It was the same island, just a different aesthetic, and yeah, there was a different story, but it's still Far Cry 3. Then you have the discussion of, well, wouldn't that make just sequels, DLC? No, because there's more into it. Tears of the Kingdom is not an expansion of Breath of the Wild. There's a lot of similarities, and they do use the same map, but there's so much more in it. That DLC, that standalone DLC that was nominated for Game of the Year last year or the year before from Elden Ring, was just straight up just extra content to Elden Ring. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. Now, in that same sense, when it comes to Game of the Year candidates, in terms of games I don't like being on there, I have relaxed on remakes being on there. Remakes, I can get over a little bit. It's the same story as the original games, but if they've remade it from the ground up, like Resident Evil 2, that being a Game of the Year candidate made sense. Resident Evil 4 made sense. Final Fantasy 7, the new one, that makes more sense. They've remade it from the ground up what it used to be, and while it shares the same story and some of the same beats, it does play as a completely different game. Remasters, if there's a remaster on there though, and it's just up-res textures and whatnot, that crosses the line. If you're playing the same exact game exactly how it was, and then it's nominated for Game of the Year, what are we doing? There wasn't another game that was better to put on there that was unique to this year? Or there wasn't a game from the old times that was remade, remastered, or not remastered, but completely redone from the ground up? Are you kidding me? But when Elden Ring came out, Elden Ring, the base Elden Ring game, deserved Game of the Year 100%. Even if, like I said, even if I'm not a big fan of the Dark Souls type stuff, you have to accept that this game was just great. Now, I feel bad because that also brings a notable moment of whenever that guy came up on stage with the Elden Ring creators and developers and talked about his Rabbi Bill Clinton, whatever. I have heard the guy's name. I don't remember it offhand. But yeah, that was a moment. Speaking of moments, F the Oscars guy, you know? The developer that worked on A Way Out, which was very good. Speaking of very good, what about winning Game of the Year in 2021? With It Takes Two. You talk about going from just being a meme to being like top tier level of the industry. By the way, EA. I'm just pointing it out there. Those are EA games. Everyone likes to give EA a lot of stuff, and they deserve it. Don't get me wrong. But that 2021 Game of the Year is an EA original. It's a great game. A Way Out, a great game. And I think their new one, I think it's Split Fiction. I'm pretty sure that came out this year. Great game. Or from what I believe I've heard, again, I know that sounds awful. I don't really know. I know it's out, and I know it's from the same people. So I assume it's a great game. But you know what they say about assuming. I understand. The Last of Us Part 2's domination of the 2020 Game of the Year awards. And I will say that is very controversial. As the obvious PlayStation fanboy that I am, I don't understand it. The Last of Us Part 2 looked amazing. Some of the sound design in it was incredible. Game of the Year? No. As many problems as the story had by itself, and the gameplay wasn't that much better than the first one, Game of the Year is no. If you want to get onto a year in a version in a game that would make you think something is rigged, 2020 would have been the year that you would have turned on the Game Awards. Like, as a Sony PlayStation fan, I was rooting for it. But now going back, I'm just like, why? Because there's parts that I liked, but there's a lot of parts I didn't. And it being the Game of the Year? I mean, I was happy at the time, but I think I was just happy because of my fandom for PlayStation. The game itself, though, I don't think it deserved that. It definitely deserves some awards. Like the accessibility, I think it won an award for that. That was huge. Like I said, sound design was really good. Graphics in general were just 10 out of 10 perfection. But story wasn't that good. Especially what they ended up doing with it. The game itself was marginally better. But Game of the Year. I can't agree. I still can't agree with that. On their website, it mentions just all the way back 2014 was the first Game of the Year. I think they've had other shows, but this is how the format is now. They don't list any other Game of the Years. I feel like they've been doing this for a lot longer than just 2014. It just feels that way. But from what they say, this version of the Game Awards, the first Game Award, which is the last thing I'll mention classic-wise in terms of history and notable things. The Game Award in 2014 was Dragon Age Inquisition. And the best online experience in a game was Destiny 1. Yeah. Dragon Age and Destiny were some of the best games in 2014, excuse me. What 10 years plus will do to an industry and games. So it's time to stop beating around the bush. And it's time to really get in this. I am going to go over every category of the Game Awards. Every one of them. But I don't want to be here till next week. I want to mention every single category, but I can't go into detail of all of them. So I've tried to space it out, and I want to talk in detail and give more opinions on stuff, on the most important or most significant ones I think that are significant in terms of gaming and everything, in terms of just art in general. So I'm going to talk about 7 different categories in detail. These categories will be Content Creator of the Year, Most Anticipated Game, Best Indie Game, and I also mention, I think there's another indie thing as well. I might quickly mention it in this too, just to kill two birds with one stone, but I will give detail for the Best Indie Game. Innovation and Accessibility, Best Score and Music, Best Game Direction, and Game of the Year. There's going to be a lot of overlap, especially with those last two. I'm assuming that Best Game Direction will have a lot of the games that are in Game of the Year category. But yeah, I am going to just go a little bit into detail of the games and how I feel of them from what I've seen or what I've played. Those are the ones I'm going to go. Those are the categories I'm going in the most detail, but I am going to mention every category and just give you the highlights of who's getting nominated. After the show, after I record this, I'm going to put in my votes. I'm not going to say exactly who I vote for until the show comes out. It's a Game Awards show. It's not like it really matters. I'm going to vote for mine after the show sometime. And once we're done here talking about mentioning all the nominees and going into detail about those 7 categories, I will give out my predicted winners. Who I think, I'm not going to go through all that. I will go through the 7 categories of the predicted winners. Again, I don't want to be here till next week just doing this episode. I got stuff to do. All right? I'm a very, very busy person. Okay? Let's get into it. No more being dumb and BSing around. Let's look at these categories. And let's see who I think should be winning these categories or whatnot. First one we're going to look at is Best Esports Team. Tell you right now, I have no idea anything about esports. No idea. So I'm just going to, again, mention these guys real quick. Mention all of them real quick. And if I get names incorrect, I apologize. Gen G for League of Legends, NRG with Valorant, Team Falcons, Dota 2, Team Liquid PH, Mobile Legends Bang Bang, and Team Vitality, Counter-Strike 2. Is Team Liquid the Moist Critical team? Because I know he had to change it away from like Team Moist or whatever because there was something about it that was not going to go right. But did they change it to Team Liquid? And I guess the PH is a sponsor. I remember him mentioning something, but I don't know if that's that in particular team. Let me know. If that's the case, that's really friggin' cool. Best Esports Athlete. Again, I don't know. I don't know who any of these people are. Brock Sommerhalder. Chovy, Jung Ji-hoon. Again, I am so sorry for the names. I am terrible with names. Forsaken, Jason Sasanto, Kakeru Watanabe. Oh my gosh. I'm embarrassed for myself. Menard, Saul Leonardo, Ziwu, Matthew Herbot. 2 of these guys play Street Fighter. Is their category or their game that they play. That was difficult, man. I'm sorry. Like I said, best esports game. Here we go. These games are in here every stinking year, except for this one. This one is newer to me. So there's Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, League of Legends, Mobile Legends Bang Bang, and Valorant. Here we go. First, First category I'm going to really talk into detail with. Content Creator of the Year. The nominees are Sidriel, Kai Sent, Moist Critical, Sakura Miko, and the Burnt Peanut. Now the Burnt Peanut, I feel like I've came across his content really recently. But there's another guy that does just Rocket League stuff. That's basically the same idea. It's just someone's face imposed on a 3D model of a peanut. Only the other guy I'm thinking of is with a potato. Very very popular in both the Rocket League world as well as just the online space world. And I feel like if this is the same guy I'm thinking of, his reactions on his streams are hilarious whenever he's playing like Call of Duty or some kind of BR type deal. Whenever he'll just look over at his screen. If he dies, he'll be like this. And then he looks over like this. In audio terms, he'll look directly at his screen, gets shot, and with like an O face, just looks at the screen, and then looks over at his camera with that same face on. It's hilarious. If that's the same guy, then that is a good pick. He is freaking funny. Different peanuts that he'll change costumes in here and there. Like the hat is sending me thinking that it is that guy. And if it's that guy, great choice. That is a good guy. That is good. Sakura Miko, I have no idea. It's a VTuber. It's not the VTuber that I thought is the most famous. There was one last year that I heard of, and that was a really good person. Outside of streaming and whatnot that I heard about. There was one that had a lot of medical issues and whatnot, and she was nominated one year. Or I don't know. With VTubers, I don't know the person behind the virtual tuber or whatever. So if I misgender or misidentify somebody, I apologize, but I don't know anything about Sakura Miko or Miko. But I do enjoy the representation for people because there are a lot of people that enjoy VTubers and that VTube space. I very much in all for them being represented. They're just not my cup of tea. I haven't found a VTuber. The closest one I found was Miko. I think that was her name. It was a 3D one with producer or operator something. I haven't watched her content in so long. She used to be a big thing with Sweet Anita. I don't know if she's still doing anything now. She might not stream anymore, but she was a smart, intelligent woman. Developing this 3D VTuber by herself. Crazy smart. And she went on doing other things, other content, side content stuff. I don't know if she's still doing it. If she is, that's great. I'm actually going to look it up at the end of this episode. But again, good stuff for Sakura Miko to be on here for the VTuber selection. Sidriel, I've heard the name before. I don't know much about him. I feel like he's one of those gamers that are actually really good at games. I mean, the friggin' picture that he's on with the Content Creator of the Year on the website, it's him sitting in a gamer chair looking like he's in a place where he's competing. So he might actually be like a legit like speedrunner or something for all I know. But I've heard of the name. I don't know the person. Now these next two I definitely know. Kai Sent, he seems like such a cool dude, you know? And if I'm saying the last name wrong, I feel like I am. I apologize, but he just seems like a really cool dude that I don't really have interest in watching, to be honest. but I would have interest in supporting, and I'd be A-okay if he won. There are three guys, there are three people, three choices here. A-okay if they won. And the only reason why Sidriel and Sakura are not one of those three is just because I don't really know them, and I apologize in advance. But Kai and the Burnt Peanut, if they won, then I would be happy with. Kai especially. He, again, great dude, it seems like. I haven't really heard a lot of bad things about him, but also I'm not as into the Twitch streaming or streaming in general universe as I used to be. But everything that I see about the guy, he seems like he's having a good time on stream, interacting with the tons of fans that seem to come to his streams. Holy cow. It's nuts. Just seems like a genuinely okay person. But the guy that I really want to win, and obviously it's going to be who I'm voting for, so I'll just go ahead and say that. I've followed him for years. And it's so cool seeing his name on here, but I feel like he's been mentioned before. But it's really cool to actually see him there. I'm pulling for Moist Critical. Dude, remember back in the day, whenever it was just him on him playing a game with like a really crappy microphone, and he'd just be like, "Hey, what's going on? It's Critical. Today I'm playing this game. Let's do this." I mean, some of the stupid stuff he would say on there just made me laugh so hard. It was so funny. And it made no sense. He even admit like stuff that he said just was not supposed to make any sense. He was just saying it just because he wanted to be that guy. But it was so funny. And again, Charlie like I'm talking to him like he's my best friend or something. But in a way, it's one of those virtual best friends. There's an actual name for it. I can't think of it right now. Parasocial relationship. It's one of those parasocial relationships that, man, this is one of the guys on YouTube and online that I've just been following for over a decade now. And of course, ebbs and flows of when I follow him and how long I follow him and whatnot. But there seems like the evolution of Moist Critical was awesome. And I'm glad that even though at that time, the time that I enjoyed, he was at a very depressive part of his life, I still thought what he was putting out was funny. And it's good that now he's in a much better part, and the stuff that he's still putting out is both hilarious and actually worth it. I mean, he's got his own team in terms of esports. This is why I was asking about the Liquid earlier, because I knew this was like one of the only nominees that was not a video game that I knew about. Because I was intrigued, like who's Content Creator of the Year, so I have something to talk about, and luckily, I definitely knew Moist Critical. I know of Kai, I know of Peanut. The other two I don't know about, but I'm glad to hear. Moist Critical's he's up there, man. He's up there, one of my favorite streamers, favorite YouTubers of all time. And the fact that I've known about him and watched his stuff as Penguins for so long, how do I not pull for him? How do I not vote for him? So it might be biased, and maybe Kai might deserve it more, and he might win because of he probably has a younger fan base. But I'm definitely going to be pulling for Moist Critical. I will be watching his stream for sure, because God knows he's going to be streaming that night. Let's move on. I will stop gushing over Moist Critical. But we're already at number 2 of games that are of their categories that I want to talk in detail about. This is I mean, okay. All right, let's mention the games because I have thoughts. Most anticipated game coming soon-ish, hopefully, in some of these games' cases. 007 First Light, Grand Theft Auto 6, Marvel's Wolverine, Resident Evil Requiem, and The Witcher 4. No offense to Resident Evil, but I think compared to the other 4, this one feels like they're just added there. And even when it comes to Marvel's Wolverine, I feel like there's a very limited number of people, especially compared to. I can't keep lowering it like that. But there is hype for Wolverine. I'm excited to see what Insomniac does with Wolverine because of how well Spider-Man was. And just from gameplay they've shown here already, how brutal it looks, it's going to be a hell of a fun time. But there's so much stuff been shown about 007 First Light. And the one trailer of The Witcher 4 just looks so beautiful and so great. I don't see Witcher 4 coming out next year, but it is a already hyped up game. So it definitely is anticipated. But come on. Come on. We know the winner of this. The Witcher 4 is big, and it might be better in terms of story. And gameplay might be close. And First Light is just got that Bond name on it. So it's exciting if you're a James Bond fan, because you're getting an actual James Bond-esque game that looks really good. It's like the Indiana Jones game. That was actually really good. But it's Grand Theft Auto 6. Grand Theft Auto 6 is so massively hyped up. This isn't a game by itself anymore. It is the industry, basically. I'm still going to bring up a topic. This isn't the place to bring up a particular topic because this episode's already going to be longer than I wanted. But most anticipated game, and it's just automatically not GTA 6. When you have websites like The Verge that doesn't particularly talk about video games that much at all. It's more Hollywood, basic Hollywood and trend and pop stuff. When you have The Verge talking about Grand Theft Auto 6, whenever it was delayed, again, you don't see The Witcher 4 getting talked about like that. You don't see Resident Evil Requiem being talked about by them. Grand Theft Auto 6 almost transcends the industry at this point. How hyped up it is. How crazy Grand Theft Auto is. In the zeitgeist of pop culture. Of culture in general now. I don't think the game is going to be as great as the hype is leading up for it. In my personal opinion. But you can't say it's not the most anticipated and hyped up game of all time. Of all time, let alone this year. Grand Theft Auto 6, absolutely. Again, no offense to the other games. I can't wait for, like I said, I can't wait for the Wolverine game. I'm sure Requiem's going to be fine and scary. Witcher 4 is going to be incredibly epic. And again, a good James Bond game would be cool. There's those classic PS2 James Bond games that range, from good to okay to good. So something really well made that looks amazing is going to be nice, but it's Grand Theft Auto 6. I don't think there's a comparison here. Best adaptation, I could go on a little rant on one thing being here, but like I said, it's not one of my main 7, so I will not. I will keep it brief. A Minecraft movie, Devil May Cry, the anime, Splinter Cell Death Watch, never heard of it, but it's on Netflix. I guess it's an anime. The Last of Us Season 2, and in Until Dawn, the movie. I will keep that to myself. Best multiplayer game: Ark Raiders, Battlefield 6, Elden Ring, Night Rain, Peak, and Split Fiction. Well, I guess that answers which game would be actually featured, or who's the better game between Battlefield 6 and Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Just right there. Already just best multiplayer game. Yeah, obviously, Battlefield 6 makes sense here. And hey, Split Fiction, once again, up for an award at the Game Awards. One of the F the Oscars guy really making bank on that moment. Best sports racing game: EA Sports FC 26, F1 25, Mario Kart World, Rematch, soccer, I don't know other than that, and Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. This is when you know we're in a weird timeline anymore and how things are just weird. If it went by fans, Sonic Racing has a better chance of winning an award at Game Awards over a Mario game. Over Mario Kart. Because in terms of just games themselves, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds is better. It's rated better online. We live in a weird time. Weird timeline. Best sim strategy game: Final Fantasy Tactics, I apologize. The Valachi Chronicles, Jurassic World Evolution 3, Sid Meier's Civilization 7, Tempest Rising, The Altars, and 2 Point Museum. Best family game: Donkey Kong Bonanza, Lego Party, Lego Voyagers, Mario Kart World, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, and Split Fiction. I thought Split Fiction was a teen game. That's not a family game. I mean, I guess you could play it, but it's also like a two-player game. This family game is... It's better to be called best kids game. But I guess if you want to play with a family, play with a kid or whatnot, it's better to call it a family game instead of kids game, you know. I understand that. Lego Party. Hey, Lego getting 2 categories. They must have had a really good year game-wise. I know of Lego Party. It's basically Mario Party with Legos. Voyagers, I don't know what that is. Intriguing. Best fighting game: 2XKO, Capcom Fighting Collection 2, Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, and Virtua Fighter, easy for me to say, 5, Revo World Stage. I think it kind of shows how weak the fighting or how weak of a year it was for the fighting genre. When 2 of your game of the years are a collection of classic games put together in one. I'm just saying. Some of the first bit of overlap with later categories, I believe, is going to start here with Best RPG. Avowed, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Monster Hunter Wilds, and The Outer Worlds 2. We will definitely be talking about a few of these games later on. Speaking of, Best Action Adventure Game: Death Stranding 2, On the Beach, Ghost of Yote, Hollow Knight Silksong, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and Split Fiction. How about Split Fiction? This is already like their 3rd or 4th category. Not bad. And again, we will talk about some of these games more as this goes on. Definitely about one of them that did not make it, but I want to talk about it. Best action game. Battlefield 6. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Doom: The Dark Ages, Hades 2, Ninja Gaiden 4, and Shinobi Art of Vengeance. 2-0, by the way, when it comes to the Call of Duty Battlefield. I wonder who's better, you know? Best VR AR, sorry. Alien Rogue Incursion, Arcane Age, Ghost Town, Marvel's Deadpool VR, and The Midnight Walk. You know VR is kind of at an afterthought this year. If there's a Deadpool Marvel game that just came out and I had no idea about it. And now I kind of want to play it, but I don't have a VR headset. Damn. Best mobile game, so we can skip this, right? No, of course not. Destiny Rising, Persona 5, The Phantom X, Sonic Rumble. Oh my goodness. Umamumsum, Pretty Derby, and Wuthering Waves. Came out at the end of last year, but put Pokemon TCG Pocket in there. It's the only really good thing Pokemon's got going for it. Even after Legends ZA come out, there was a lot of crap behind that, but freaking put that there. Come on. All right, this is going to be linked up a little bit with the next one. I assume the next one is indie as well, but this is the best debut indie game. Blueprints, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Despelote, and Dispatch. I have heard great things about Dispatch. It is newer, so I don't know much in comparison, but then there's the obvious one. Again, I'll talk about it later. This one, Despelote or Despelote, must be like with a family or whatnot. Looks rather intriguing, just the way the art looks. Blueprints, I don't know, it could be good. I like the storytelling in the one image it's doing with the doors. The image they put on the Game Awards website, the doors in each room has different looks to it or whatnot. That's intriguing. So that leads us to Best Independent Game. We have Absalom, Ball X Pit, Blueprints, Clair Obscur's Expedition 33, Hades 2, and Hollow Knight's Silk Song. So just a spoiler, by the way, 3 of these are in the Game of the Year category. So I will talk more in depth about 3 of them later on. But I will say that if the community kind of wants to separate a little bit and highlight both games, this right here would be a good way to do it. Because Game of the Year will be the ultimate Game of the Year. That will show the most hype of everything. But if you're featured as Best Indie, you can still get a little bit of credit knowing that you got an award from the Game Awards. Even if you didn't win like the main prize, the ultimate Game of the Year. But if you're like the Best Indie, you're basically like, you basically won the Game of the Year because you're the best indie game. You're not the best game in comparison to like places that might be making games like Nintendo. But there are so many great indie developers now, it's like, who cares? And it's sad because I'm sure Absalom and Blueprints are fine games. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to tell my opinion at the very end, especially seeing this, how I think this should go. Best community support. Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, and No Man's Sky. Wow. Interesting. So community support, I could go one way, because then best ongoing is Final Fantasy Fortnite or Final Fantasy 14. I'm getting ahead of myself. Fortnite, Helldivers 2, Marvel Rivals, and No Man's Sky. My, oh my, how Marvel Rivals has kind of fallen. I don't hear that game at all anymore. Games for Impact. I hate how sort of hated this category is. So Games for Impact, Consume Me, Despelato, I don't know. Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, South of Midnight, and Wonderstop. Wonderstop looks kind of cute. Innovation and accessibility. Now, I will say I do not know why they're nominated, what they've added, what features they have, but I want to highlight innovation and accessibility and say it is important for if you want to play video games, no matter what your condition might be and what you might be going through, it is important for this community and for this space to be able to allow anybody that wants to play to play. So this one means a lot to me in that sense because it allows more people to be able to play games. That's great. The nominees are Assassin's Creed Shadows, Atomfall, Doom the Dark Ages, EA Sports FC 26, and South of Midnight. And no matter what you want to say, oh, Assassin's Creed is Assassin's Creed, you know? Doom the Dark Ages wasn't the best Doom. Oh, FC, it's EA Sports. It's just monetizing you anyways. No matter what you want to say about all those. If they are moving forward the industry in a way to allow more people to play games whenever they probably shouldn't be able to, then that's great. That's a good thing. You are allowing more people that might have something happen or just born a certain way to be able to play your game. That's good. And if you complain about options and stuff for how many accessibility options there are in games, maybe that's your problem. If you're just looking for the subtitles and you have to go through 1,200 different options, I'm sorry. Now, I will say, to give person that might get mad a little bit of a bone here, maybe they could do it to where they had more basic options first and foremost, like colorblind mode, turn off motion blur, but I feel like that'd be in graphics. Subtitles, obviously. If you want to do that and then have an option to where you can select more options, then I'll give you that one. If that's a compromise, then I think that's a fair one. If you want to make it cleaner just for some basic options like the subtitles and whatnot, fine. But if you're getting mad just because you want to turn on subtitles, or if you're getting mad because you're trying to find a specific option and there's just so many, I'm not really upset that you're getting mad over this, because they're not there for you. They're there for people that might need those options. But I'll concede and say maybe they could be set up better. Maybe it could look better. But they should definitely be there. And I'm so happy that more games are starting to notice that and starting to add in more accessibility options. The more options in a game for people to play is good. For that particular game, it is good. Best performance in a game. Oh, I can't wait for someone to call me out and say, you're a hypocrite for what you said and then you say here. Can't wait. Ben Starr from Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Charlie Cox from Expedition 33. Erika Ishii from Ghost of Yotei. Jennifer English from Expedition 33. Kunatsu Kota from Silent Hill F. And Troy Baker from Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. 3 of these are from Expedition 33, just pointing that out there. Troy Baker sounded almost one-to-one like Harrison Ford in many different parts of that game. It's crazy how well he did as Indiana Jones. This is going to go one the same because this goes with the best audio. Or this will kind of, to me, also goes with best score and music. But I'll just highlight it here. Best audio design. Battlefield 6, Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghost of Yote, and Silent Hill F. 3-0, by the way, if you're counting still in terms of Battlefield versus Call of Duty. If Silent Hill, because I know they brought back Akira Yamaoka, if it does how the old Silent Hill games used to in terms of horror games, I feel like that's a favorite in terms of audio design. I really do. But I could easily, so the audio design's fine in the other games. Don't get me wrong, but you could really the Silent Hill games are known for that audio design because of how well they use it to freak you out more than actual jump scares and whatnot, which is great. I'd rather have scares like that. But Battlefield 6 could also easily win this just because of the realism, if everything sounds as realistic to war as it could be. Easily, this is a category that could be the most debated, but audio design in general, I don't know if the 3 big hitters or maybe the 3 front runners would be the ones I'm looking. I'm really looking at Battlefield 6 and potentially Silent Hill F. I mean, they're all big hitters. They're all from big brands. Konami, friggin' Sony, Kojima. The only one that's not is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. But, again, we're getting to that. And then goes to best score in music. See, I consider this separate because audio design in general is just how audio is used to enhance the games. The score in music could literally just be like the music in the game, like the music playing in the background or something. So that's why I think the audio design win could easily go to Battlefield 6 or Silent Hill 2. Or, I'm sorry. Well, that shows my my hope for why I want Silent Hill F to win because of Silent Hill 2. But best score in music, this one has those 3 same games in it. Just different music pieces. Easily could be winners over that. And then you also have Hades 2's Darken Korb and Christopher Larkin from Hollow Knight Silk Song, who developed the score. Lorene Testard from Expedition 33. Tomo Ottawa from Ghost of Yote, and Hoodkin and Ludwig Forsell from Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. Easily any of these 5 could be best score music, or I think, like I just said, best audio design could be a lot more contained and more interesting with Battlefield and Silent Hill F in comparison. Best art direction. Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghost of Yote, Hades 2, and Hollow Knight Silk Song. The overlap is going thick now, by the way. Best narrative, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghost of Yote, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and Silent Hill F. We are very close to the ultimate one because we are at best game direction. Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghost of Yote, Hades 2, and Split Fiction. Ghost of Yotei, I've heard, is just another hit from Sucker Punch. It's great. Split Fiction sounds like another hit from EA. Not Game of the Year, though. And I'll talk about Ghost of Yotei a little more here in just a minute. Split Fiction, I haven't heard as hyped up as It Takes Two was. So, while I'm not surprised it's not there, just because I haven't really heard much about it, that's kind of the problem with it, is that I guess in comparison, it just didn't match up. Maybe there was just something about it that, deserved a lot in awards and was really good, but in comparison to It Takes Two, it just didn't hit the same. Like I mentioned, the overlap is crazy, and we have made it. This is the final one. This is the ultimate one, where the overlap becomes one and the same, and what you've heard from several different games before, we are here now to talk about them. Game of the Year. There are 6 games up for Game of the Year this year. You have heard games, some here more than others, and you've heard games that probably should be mentioned here, but are not. And I will talk about that right now. Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Those are your categories for Game of the Year. Now, overall, real quick, I think it's a damn fine year. The games mentioned on this list, if you just looked at Game of the Year candidates alone, that makes for a damn fine year. Honestly, you have a great mix of sequels. You have a great mix of classic. Characters come back for a brand new game. You have a mix of crazy, out of nowhere indie games that have become just legendary. If you were to base the Game Awards and gaming in general just on the 6 games featured in the Game Awards 2025, you would think gaming's in the best place ever. In a lot of ways, it kind of is. When you have games like these, that's a really good point of your games, of where your industry is. That should highlight. These are a perfect highlight of where video games and the gaming industry in general is and should be. Because there's a lot of good here. But there are also 3 basically indie titles here. Which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that big heavy hitters aren't really shown that much here. Sony gets 1. Nintendo gets 1. Makes sense. And out of nowhere, Deep Silver gets 1. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. The first one looks great. First one was very interesting. Very good. As an RPG. Very good RPG. From what I've heard, it sounds good. It sounds like it belongs here. All these games sound like they belong here. For the exception of one, in my opinion. I'll talk about that in a second. Hollow Knight Silksong, I was very infuriated because when it first came out, I thought it was a DLC. Or I heard it was a DLC. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are we dealing with this Elden Ring stuff again? But no, it's a standalone game. It was a DLC, but it was so big, they split it off and it's its own game. So I'm very happy to say that each of these games are their own separate thing. There's no DLC expansion thing. Standalone expansion. that is up for Game of the Year this year. Fantastic. Silk Song was close, but it is its own game. That makes me happy because it looks fun, and I wanted to give credit where credit was due, but I didn't know, and I'm glad I looked it up before. Hades 2. Hades was near perfection in terms of a roguelike the way it is. It is so good. Hades 2 just improves it so much. There's a reason why Hades was a Game of the Year candidate when it came out. And then this year, it's got probably even better chance of winning. Donkey Kong Bonanza. Finally, Donkey Kong gets his own 3D game, and it's great. The last time he had a 3D game it had to have been Donkey Kong 64. That game's just infamous for having way too many collectibles, and just a lot of people didn't care for it. I love it. It's a nostalgic thing for me. I understand. But I love Donkey Kong 64. I love it. But the way they've done this one, I have to admit it looks better. It just from the outside looking in, it looks better. If I'd ever get a Switch 2, Donkey Kong Bonanza would be one that I would have. I would have to buy it. I would have to get it. Death Stranding 2 on the beach. Death Stranding was really good, I think. But story-wise, just like with every freaking Kojima game, just was a little confusing. I mean, everyone since Metal Gear Solid. Just a little confusing, and I just didn't care for it. I loved the BB or Lou, spoiler, by the way, for the name. I love that dynamic with Sam and Lou. Loved it. That was the best part of the first game for me. And the idea of a walking simulator, yeah, it's there for sure. But it was more than a walking simulator once you got into the game and stuff. This one just sounds a little more of that, but you have a lot more options, and they actually have guns and stuff too now. So it's definitely expanded, and it definitely sounds like it's more going into the direction of what Metal Gear Solid was in a lot of ways, but with its own weird way, because Death Stranding is still Death Stranding. Weird Sam Norman Reedus with the funky fetus type deal. I don't know if it deserves to be on here over Ghost of Yote, though. This is the one that I don't agree with. But I think it's good. I think it's great. It looks fun. Death Stranding, I'm very interested in the story. And it upsets me because of the time that I don't have. I don't have enough time to play all these games through completion. And this is one of them I would love to continue the story on. I love the first Death Stranding. And for a lot of things, the dynamic included, but there were story beats that I found very interesting, even though it was confusing here and there. But I don't know if it deserves over Ghost of Yote. I've heard Ghost of Yote is better gameplay-wise and just aesthetic looks whatever-wise than Ghost of Tsushima. Which, yeah, it came out on the PS5. Tsushima came out on the PS4. The PS5 version, in terms of the way it looks, the way it sounds and stuff, should be better than PS4. 100%. But playing it sounds much better. The only thing that's not as good, apparently, is its story. Which I guess if the story of Death Stranding 2, again, from an outsider who hasn't played it yet, who needs to find time to play it, that just doesn't have the time to play it. But from the outside looking in, if the story is enough to kill off Yote's chances, then I really need to play Death Stranding 2 story. Because just from the outside looking in, and based on what Death Stranding was at first, and I know there's improvements and stuff to it and more stuff to do, but compared to Ghost of Tsushima, how that played, just by themselves, Ghost of Tsushima played better. And yeah, there's improvements between Yotei and Death Stranding compared to their counterpart. But is Death Stranding much better in the gameplay version 2? Is story the only thing really here that put Death Stranding 2 over it? I don't know. I've seen ratings that have Yotei better than Tsushima. So why is Ghost of Tsushima not up for Game of the Year? It has many more award choices than Death Stranding 2. I believe what I went over, I feel like Yotei was, if they were not close, I feel like they did have more than Death Stranding 2. Ghost of Yotei did. But it not being Game of the Year, like, and what's really sad is I'm getting upset because a Sony game didn't beat out and get on a Game of the Year candidate over another Sony game. I feel like I'm infighting with myself with my own brand here. And it's just odd. An odd choice, in my opinion, when I first saw this. Because I did see Game of the Year candidates because I couldn't wait. I wanted to see who got Game of the Year choices. And Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, didn't know much about the game, but I know the first game looked fun and interesting. I'm just assuming it's more. The other games, knew plenty about, knew enough to know that they deserve to be on here for sure. This is the only game I was sitting there like, huh. Was it really that much better? I mean, I wasn't shocked, but I was just like, wow. Wow. Death Stranding 2 actually beat out Ghost of Yotei. If you would have asked me that at the beginning of the year, even before the games came out, I would not have believed you. If you would have asked me a week ago, before these came out, that Ghost of Yotei was not going to be on Game of the Year list and Death Stranding 2 was, I wouldn't have believed you. It's one of two things. It's either, man, that story and Yotei must have really hindered it so much to where it didn't deserve it, or that Kojima charm was enough to put Death Stranding 2 on the map. I don't really see Death Stranding 2 being any better than Yotei. For the exception of story. So it's either the story is just that much better and elevates it that much more, or it's literally just a way to put Hideo Kojima in a Game of the Year category. Which is shitty to say. I'll say it, but it's the only one I don't fully agree with. I feel more. I sound more impassioned about it than I actually am. I could care less, honestly. It was just, that was my first thought process of really going about this year's list. But again, all of them deserve to be on here. And all of them make sense. And even Death Stranding makes sense in a lot of ways. I just thought Ghost of Yotei kind of had it locked. I was obviously wrong. Throughout this entire thing, I have yet to talk about the one game. For obvious reasons. I have yet to talk about it. I feel like this year it's so obvious who Game of the Year is. It's not even close. Could Hades 2 pull off the upset? Absolutely. It is a really, just the way Hades was, and if Hades 2 is just even more an improvement, could absolutely pull off the upset and win Game of the Year. I don't think it's going to. Because like with so many other categories it's in, for the exception of one, and I'll mention that here in just a minute. I think this year's game of the year is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Of these, this is the game I actually have played some. And I already feel like I've played enough for me to be like, okay, I'm definitely coming back to this when I have the time. The opening hour or two is just so amazing. It's one of the best openings to a game I've played in years. So emotional, so intriguing, so fun, so interesting. I don't see Hades 2 beating this. Personally, I don't see it. Could it? Sure. I even said sure. But everyone's talked about this game, man. Everyone has. There's just some years there it feels like it's this game's year. And Hades 2, yeah, it's Game of the Year nominee again. But just like the year Elden Ring came out, just like the year Baldur's Gate 3 came out, this feels like Expedition 33's year. This is their year. This independent studio did almost the impossible. And they made an incredible game on selling it for like $50. AA game at best. An indie developer, though, still. AA looking quality. Selling it for $50, and it's a game of the year. Almost hands down game of the year. And I said that, like I said, most of these are indie guys. Supergiant, Team Cherry. Heck, even Deep Silver in comparison to Sony and Nintendo are indie guys. But they're still going to beat out Sony and Nintendo here. Donkey Kong Bonanza wasn't better than this. Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Tsushima combined wasn't better than this. The only thing that really stands in its way is Hades 2, in my opinion. And depending on how Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is. Which, again, I will say I don't know. But as much as it's been talked about, I feel like that if it doesn't win, that's a huge mistake. Huge mistake. But with that being said, I think that credit needs to be done here for Silksong. So I want to go back to what I mentioned about the best independent game. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is up for Independent Game of the Year as well. I mean, obviously, I feel like it's going to win that one. But what should be done, if it's true Van vote, and we get the majority of the vote, if that's the case, I know there's a jury as well, so they'll do the last say. But if we want to be fair, because when it came out, Hollow Knight Silksong was hugely hyped up when it first came out. It was crazy how much hype it had whenever it came out there. It was also cheap too. It was also a good game that was cheap to come out. That was a standalone game. So my thought process is here, because Clair Obscur has a chance to just wipe the floor with everything it's in, except for probably the audio design one. I could easily, like I mentioned, see Silent Hill F or Battlefield 6 winning audio design of the year. But this one, I would give Independent Game of the Year to Silksong. But in general Game of the Year, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Or if you want to do Hades, because Hades 2 is also in this, You could do Hades 2 as Independent Game of the Year, and Clear Obscure Expedition 33 as Game of the Year. The indie games still look dominant. They're still the force to be reckoned with in this age of gaming. You could go a step further. Because let's say Clear Obscure Expedition 33 doesn't win Game of the Year for some odd, crazy reason. It does not win Game of the Year. It's still up for the award for Best Debut Indie Game. What if something comes up to where they win Best Debut Indie Game? For Best Indie Game, something happens. They don't win that. But Hades 2 or Silk Song wins that. And then overall Game of the Year, Hades 2 wins. I don't know if Silk Song is a Game of the Year in comparison to Hades and Expedition 33. So I'd give that to the Best Indie Game. The Best Debut Indie Game would be Clair Obscur for sure. And Hades 2 would win Game of the Year. That would just highlight so much 3 different indie titles of where this industry is in terms of where indie is. But that's not how it is. So I 100% expect Expedition 33 to just wipe the floor with all these categories, for the exception of audio design that they're in. Because again, like I said, my reasoning is that it had great audio, great score, but compared to a shooter game and a horror game that are notorious for having those great audio bits in terms of guns firing or just creepy sounds you hear in the background, especially Silent Hill, if done right, I could easily see Expedition 33 not being up to that. But everything else they're going to wipe the floor with. So here's my actual predictions for this year's Game Awards. Just the 7 categories that I went in most detail with today. Game of the Year, Expedition 33. Best Game Direction, Expedition 33. Best Score in Music, Expedition 33. Innovation and Accessibility, Adamfall. Didn't see that coming, did you? Neither did I. Best Indie Game, Clay Obscure Expedition 33. Most Anticipated Game, Grand Theft Auto 6. Content Creator of the Year, Kaisent. I want Moist Critical to win. I even said that's going to be my vote, but I'm predicting Kai to win Content Creator of the Year. And then audio design, just because I highlighted that so much. Honestly, like I said, Clair Obscure Expedition 33, if there's one that I don't think this is going to win, it's that. I think of the ones here, Battlefield 6 might actually win one, which would be so hilarious. Because Call of Duty is not here once. Which, again, to be fair, Call of Duty probably didn't make it this year because of how late they came out. But were they going to anyways? Probably not. Battlefield 3 won. 3-0, by the way. And if they actually won one, no matter what it is, no matter what type of category it is, if Battlefield 6 wins one, that's just funny. It's just funny if you thought Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is better. Because it's obviously not. So that's it. This has been a very long episode. I went more into it than I thought I would. But man, this is a fun time. I will tell you that much. This is a fun time to be a gamer, a fun time to see what's coming out. Because there will be stuff talked about at the Game Awards, and it's going to be fun to see who wins. It's going to be fun to see people react to who wins as well. Like I mentioned, the week of the Game Awards, after the Game Awards, that previous episode of OMO will be part 2 of this, and we will go over the results and my predictions, see how I did. I feel like I'm going to be right on a few of them by default because I picked literally like the most hyped and best game talked about this year. We'll see. We will see. I am very interested, especially with Hades 2. I still feel like that's the only game that could realistically beat out Expedition 33 for Game of the Year. We will see, though. We will see. Until then, we have some episodes of STPP and obviously OMO. Next week's episode, we'll go right back to news and stuff. And I'll finally probably talk about that little discussion about the GTA 6 thing that I want to talk about. But until then, we have some STPP episodes coming up. Our Thanksgiving episode will be this Tuesday. And you can listen now on Spreaker. I am changing the hosting for STPP. I am not getting rid of the old episodes where they are hosted on Spotify. Used to be Anchor, now it's Spotify for podcasters / Spotify for creators. I don't know. That's so confusing. But those episodes will be under STPP Classic. That will be what they're called. The new ones are it's Save the Planet Podcast with Jack and Keith, just like it was, just like it's going to be here on out. But we're starting fresh. We're starting on a new host. We're starting on a place that I feel like stats and reach can be reached better and reached more. And I think it's going to be a great change once we really get the ball rolling with the show once again. And we're recording this week, so we're keep going, baby. We keep going. We keep going with STPP. We keep going with OMO. We're not done. We're not done. We'll keep going. Let's go. We haven't even started yet. I cannot wait for some of the stuff I have planned, especially going into the next year or whatnot. But speaking of STPP, why don't you join our Patreon? Because you can also get the version that you're seeing right now. If you're watching this, you're already on here. So thank you for joining us on our $1 tier. But if you're just listening to this, you don't know anything you don't know what you're missing. I might have done something wacky, crazy, and you didn't see it. You don't know. You don't know. So make sure to check out our Patreon. Patreon.com/STPP with Jack and Keith. That is STPPWJACK letter N KEITH. For the $1 tier, you get STPP Uncensored, which, by the way, I will apologize ahead of time. I have yet to get STPP Uncensored up for this past week. I can't make it free for certain reasons. But I just will apologize, and I'll get that up as soon as I can. You also get the video version of this, of OMO, and you get a shout-out on STPP. If you become a $5 member, though, you get all that, plus you get access to Save the After Show. Every now and then, I will let Save the After Show be free. I let it be free this past week, so I hope you enjoyed that little preview of what we usually do for Save the After Show. There was a reason why, and we'll talk about that more in the coming days or whatnot. Not a time where I'm talking cool things and fun things to talk about that here, but that will be talked about, especially on STPP, as we go down the line. But if you want to become a $5 tier member, get access to STA, Save the After Show, along with everything else, there you go. There's your opportunity. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. I cannot wait for for the Game Awards. I hope you are excited as well. December is always a fun time, more ways than one in terms of like gaming and everything. So it's going to be a fun time, going to be a fun show. And as for me, we will be back. I will be back with Jack and on STPP this Tuesday. And starting this Tuesday, we'll go back to every week episodes. Right now on Spreaker, the newer episodes are getting uploaded each day. I just uploaded 2 yesterday as of Saturday. I just uploaded 2 on there. Today is only 1. Tomorrow is only going to be 1. And then Tuesday will finally be back up to date. And then it'll go every Tuesday on Spreaker and then going forward. The video versions are also getting uploaded to YouTube because you can't do video versions on Spreaker. So that might actually be easier accessible-wise for people to watch on YouTube in comparison to watching through Spotify. So that might be a good thing. But yeah, we'll be back Tuesday with another episode, and things will be back to normal scheduling and uploading-wise there. And then next Sunday, I'm back to do another newscast of gaming, the post-Thanksgiving episode. And I'll be getting close to post-vacation ending episode, so I might be a little sad. Okay, that's enough for me. I'm rambling now. I'll talk to you next week. Thank you so much for joining. I hope I'm right with my predictions. We'll see. Love your faces. Talk to you next week. Goodbye.